Evolutionary.org hardcore 219 is coming your way. This is a very important episode. We're going to talk about how to use bodybuilding to save yourself from depression by Beligas. So we got Noah Wixx joining us, and we got Mobster joining us, of course. And Noah Wixx has a lot of experience with this. He was able to overcome it and cure his depression. And there's a lot of you out there listening to this, or you have relatives listening to this. This is a crucial episode that will change and save lives. So this is the one to listen to. Even if you've never had experience with depression or anything like that, maybe you're like me, you went through a little bit of a depression, but it was like very, very mild. It was like you just had a bad day, you felt depressed or whatever. This is a great episode just to pull yourself from your bootstraps and get yourself up. So we're going to talk about depression, what it is. We're going to talk about personal experiences with depression, using fitness diet to cure depression, safe steroid cycles for depression. And we're also going to talk about Beligas, some of the steroids that are safe to use when you have overcome depression. First, let me remind everyone, we are on Apple, we are on Spotify. Smash the like button. We really appreciate all the support out there. Bring your family and friends into the podcast as well. The more traffic we can get the natural way, the more we grow this podcast. We don't buy followers. We don't pay a marketing firm to advertise our podcast. We want to do it from the ground up. It starts with you. So with that said, thank you, Noah Wixx, for joining us on this one. Let's start out, Mobster and Noah. Why don't you start us off talking about what is depression?
Right. So I've got a definition in front of me rather than me or Noah give you our sort of our own versions. Let me read this definition out to you guys. And this is for the benefit of all our listeners. And it specifically says the following: depression is a mood disorder characterized by persistent low mood and loss of interest in daily activities. It is serious and common, and I'll emphasize that word, it's very common, medical condition that can affect anyone and is different from feeling sad temporarily. It can include feelings of hopelessness, guilt, low self-esteem, physical symptoms, for example, loss of sleep, changes of appetite, and even difficulty concentrating. Just to emphasize the point that they've made there, guys, and this again would be for the benefit of listeners that perhaps are suffering on their own or with family members that are struggling, etc. This is not unusual. It is super, super common. I believe I've seen something to the effect of it affects 90% of people. There's some lucky few that are going around and super happy all the time, or they don't recognize that they've had depression. If you don't have it, you almost certainly know someone else that does. For the most part, it's temporary, but sometimes we need treatment, therapy, behavioral therapy just to break the symptoms and stuff that's causing us to be depressed. Sometimes easy fixes, and sometimes, obviously, medication. The focus of today's show, but we will touch on some of those topics, is using exercise, fitness, what we call the fitness lifestyle on the forums, whether that's diet, whether that's training, even TRT or using steroids, and the sense, perhaps, we will touch on this and what we mean by this, gaining control of some element of your life, whether that's social interaction at the gym, training, looking good, feeling good, seeing how you look in the mirror, and obviously feel good hormones that are produced by exercise. Let's bring in now Noah, and of course I've got some experience, but I want to focus on Noah's, and I'm going to have a back and forth with Noah on this. Talk about what depression means to you, Noah, and your own personal experience.
So depression's it's a fickle thing, right? It's really it can be very convoluted, can be very complex. It's hard to really put my finger on what it is or how it starts or where it comes from. It's just I don't know if it's more so just a slow build where it's just a tragic event after a letdown, after a failure, after a setback. To me, depression can be many different things. It can just be feeling moody or sad, or you're happy for a little bit and then you're sad the majority of the time. It's complex trying to explain it. All I know is if you've been there, you feel like you're trapped, right? So you feel like there's no hope. You just feel a sense of dread. Your anxiety goes through the roof. Sometimes you don't even want to get out of bed and put your
Yeah.
shoes on, nonetheless work. So I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. It's just you I don't know how you get there, but once you get there, you can't get the hell out of there.
Yes,
and you
it can
feel
feel
like,
that way.
yeah, yeah, and that's the tricky thing about this, right? Like, how did I get here? How did I let myself get here? And why did it get so bad? And then that depressive mind state takes over so much that you can't even,
Yes,
it's a
yes,
fog, right? It's like a haze. You're not focusing on how you got there and how to get out of it. You're only focusing on where you're at and how you're always going to be stuck there. And then instead of coming up with solutions to get yourself out of that haze and that fog and that depressive state, you're depressing yourself more because you're beating yourself up for being a failure for feeling this way in the first place. And then it's a merry-go-round or a carousel that you can never get off. That's how I look at it. I don't know about you, Mobster, but that's from my own personal experience and my thoughts and how I've been with where I've been at.
Mobster, any follow up to that?
yeah. So something when I was struggling myself back in 2011 for various reasons, I did something and I followed up on this, which I think is an issue. I went to the doctors, and the doctor had me fill out a sort of test questionnaire. And I know that there were ways of grading as they did with the questionnaire. If I'd have got 20 points, they'd have probably sent me off for therapy or put me on medication. But I was already on my way out. And so coming back out of the funk, out of the depression, which had lasted several months at that particular point for various reasons. And so there was levels. Something also occurred to me, guys, and I see this when I've talked to other people about it. And it seems when you're talking about how it can be a vicious circle, how you can feel trapped, etc. Something that was very common again that we see people do, Steve, is we call this a duvet day here in the UK. And the classic example of when you've got depression is you'll pull the curtains, you'll get into the bed, get into the duvet. You won't want to get up. You won't want to go outside. You have the curtains closed, so you don't even get sunlight. You're not getting the fresh air. You're not getting the positive ions. Your social interaction goes down to from big or normal to very small. And ironically, literally opening the curtains, literally going outside, literally getting into the fresh air and talking to strangers, just saying hello to people, helps you with some of those elements. The classic example, and I think Noah touched on it a little bit earlier on as well, is this sense of being alone and stuck with your own particular problem. And the reality, as I said, with it being so common earlier on, is that almost none of those things are true. So literally, when you start to engage with people, getting out in the fresh air, out the fucking duvet, doing a spring clean, taking control of some element is super, super important. Steve's mentioned this in the pre-show, and I'll expand on this now. And I'll see if Noah wants to open up a little bit and tell us about perhaps his own reasons for depression. Steve mentioned in the pre-show to me that in my family, my brother David, I would argue, was probably manic depressed. Is certainly very, very depressed in terms of the alcohol abuse, not eating, not dealing with grief. I think Noah touched upon that being one of the elements that people sometimes struggle with. The passing of someone, taking them into depression, and then they kind of get stuck there, and so on. And of course, as Noah and I will both have, and Steve will have, we've worked out for many, many years. So I think sometimes for me, and even the pet thing that Steve and I have touched upon in other shows, I literally suggested to my brother to get a small dog just to take something for walks or something else to look after. Noah, Steve, and I all train. We all go to the gym. And there's a great argument to be made, as we will do in the show. Being able to go to the gym makes you go and talk to people. All of us have had great feedback from the gym with other people. It's the one time of day that you might arguably feel in control. You're certainly not drinking or doing drugs. I'd fucking hope not when you're at the gym. So that kind of stuff. And I think for me, my training was pretty much consistent, even when I was in my bout of depression. What about you, Noah? What kind of led you down there?
So, all right, I will say, like, I touched on this in the other podcast with my father and the first 5 years of a child with your life being shaped. It was definitely a lot with my father. That was the main takeaway for me, was the depression, and that lasted all the way into my 30s. Just thinking about it, just randomly. I would just be sad, and I knew why I was sad. I knew why I felt like a failure. I felt like I hadn't accomplished anything because my dad didn't love me. And that was the hardest part because I wanted my dad to be my hero. I wanted my dad to be my best friend. I wanted him to be proud of all my accomplishments. And for the longest time, I just kind of bummed around in life. And other than training really hard in the gym, I didn't really try and apply myself because I just felt like I was a mistake and I shouldn't be here. And that's really hard. Like just thinking about it now, like I can feel a
Yeah.
tear in my one eye. Like
Did
it's
you
hard.
do you I don't know if the K Kate's podcast is out, but he was actually adopted. I don't know if you were aware of that. K Kate's on the forum.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah, and he talked about on the podcast. I don't believe the episode is out yet, and maybe Mobster you can touch on it too. But he felt he doesn't even want any contact with his biological parents. He got
No.
adopted by great families, and they adopted another child with him who was
Yep.
actually an Asian, and he's half Cherokee, half Caucasian, and his brother looks
Yes.
completely different. He talks about how his brother grew up. It was really hard for his brother because his brother looks so different than his
Sure.
parents and everyone else because he has an Asian background, but he himself being half Cherokee, half Caucasian, he was able to more blend in. And he talks about how he kind of got that growing up, that he had that, that sibling who he could see was going through his own type of depression and kind of helped him kind of get
Yes.
away from it. So
Right.
But there was also an element for him, Steve, to sort of reflect against what Noah's just said of
not being
not wanting to look.
wanted.
Yeah, well, yeah, arguably by the original parent, but still having a great upbringing with the adoptive parent. So it was the sort you look back and wonder why you was left behind, why you had to be adopted, but at the same time you also looked at that thing. I think there's this from Noah's perspective. Arguably, your dad, your father was struggling with issues. The problem was he put those issues onto you, making you feel like you even said like you were to blame. But reality was he was putting his fucking problems onto you and making you feel guilty for not standing up to some standard that he'd set for himself. And here's the thing. I literally saw something this just a few days ago, Steve, where Christ, I think I might have even been reading Sherlock Holmes, and there was some element of a discussion of one of the books, and it was this thing of parents bringing stuff to the table and not understanding the effect that they can have on their children because they're dealing with their own shit, and you're the only person there that they can talk to. So if they're having a shit day, now you're having a shit day. If he feels bad about his life, now you're going to feel about your life. And sometimes what we do, Noah, and I think you're kind of doing this yourself already, is that we actually flip that switch. We realize it was their fucking problem and not our problem. And then when we have our own kids and our own relationships, we actually go almost completely 180 in the other direction. Perhaps arguably even overcompensating because I'm not going to be the wanker to my kids that my dad was to me, and so on and so forth. Now, you obviously at some point, as you said, even when you was hard training, were still dealing with some of these things. But while you have the memory of what it was like before, how do you think training, etc., allowed you to gain some sense of control over that? And arguably, as we know from the forum, Noah, you've 100% improved yourself. I would say, apart from your memories, your outlook on life, and so on. So, give us a little bit of insight into that as well. I know it was helpful for me. What about it was helpful for you?
The gym for me, with how I would overcome it and what I would do is I would think about all the lies and all of the deceit and all of the despair and the anger and the nights I spent crying as a child, the nights I spent left in my room wondering why I was a failure in his eyes and why he wouldn't love me the way that I wished he would. Because no matter how much that man was not around, I had such a strong, unconditional love and
Yeah.
bond with him that as I got older, it would just fuel my anger and my rage when I was in the gym. And anytime I was
Yes.
trying to go high volume, heavy
Yeah.
poundage, didn't matter what it was, I would think of all of the things that he never was to me and all of the things that I never want to be when it comes down to being a man and being a good man. I
Yeah.
would look at everything he did wrong and do the exact opposite. And then when I was in the gym, I would fire myself up before a heavy lift by thinking of all the things he did to me that pissed me off and all the times he hurt my mother. and how he left my mother, and I would
Mm.
just I would flip this switch, as you said, and I would turn into this
Yes.
animal, and I was unstoppable. And there was times in my 20s I would go be in the gym for 3 4 hours because I had so much rage built inside of me that I didn't want to take it out on anybody outside in the outside world, that I would literally exhaust myself in the gym, so I couldn't do that to anybody because I didn't want
Yeah.
to be that type of man.
Let
So
me
that's
ask.
how I used it.
So let me jump in. Sorry,
Go
Steve.
ahead.
Noah said, and he said this to us in the pre-show, and I'm going to say this now, Noah. We've got Noah on camera, and Noah said we're going to leave himself on camera so that we can see in his face, as I said on another show, when we could see the guy smiling because we were talking about training and getting into shape, and they had a big grin on their face. Noah said he was going to leave the camera alive so that we could talk about it. No, I was just seeing waves of thoughts and emotions going over your face, and you were back in that moment just for a second there, feeling that rage in the gym, feeling some of the passion that you've had to pile into the weights and whatever else. I don't know about Steve. I've joked about this in my own way. So this is not about depression, but I said, if you come and listen to me in the corner of the gym, I'm muttering around, get this done, you fat bastard, get it fucking shifting, whatever else. I give myself shit. But I also talk about on shows, and I think Noah's a great example of this, finding out what it is that fucking gets your juices going. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be depression, it could be upbringing, it could be a gay Greek epic opus of a poem. I don't care. And having that thing to fire your fucking engine up, to really get you into there. Arguably, Noah, you've done arguably a super positive thing with a super negative thing. Something that could easily have fucking destroyed you. And we see this in society all the time. You turn that shit around. You turn it into a white hot rage, fire, almost self-flagellation, fucking whipping yourself, but in a positive way. You didn't fucking go. You could have been sniffing fucking, I don't know, smoking crack. You could have been fucking begging on street corners. You could have spent the whole of your fucking life feeling sorry for yourself. And instead of which, you got in there and you almost in a manic way fucking said, I'm going to destroy it. I'm going to burn this shit out of myself by training. I'm going to get this fucking shit done so that even if all I feel is tired when I leave, that's better than feeling pissed off. But I hope, Noah, that you also had some sort of sense of feeling fucking positive when you went away, mate, when you were done and when you went home. Self-satisfaction of having done something good.
I'll be honest, it was hit or miss. It depended on the day. There were certain days where I would feel accomplished and
Yep.
I would feel happy, and I left it all in the gym, and
Yep.
I didn't quit, right? So mentally, on a positive note, I was mentally shaping myself to become stronger, and I was building those blocks brick by brick to at some point in my life be able to circumvent the negative and
Yes.
insert a positive. But there was also days where I would work out for hours and I would be like, I didn't do enough. I'm a failure. I didn't do enough. I failed. I didn't hit this. I'm a failure. So it would depend on where the depressive roller coaster was. Like if I was
Yeah.
climbing the hill,
Yeah.
it would be more
When it
positive.
comes.
But when
Yes.
I crested that hill, man, when I crested that, I crested hard. Like there's no in between for me. It's either I'm up or I crash and burn. Like
Mm.
it just, I have to either be all in or all out, because
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson said something one time, right? And it
Yeah, he's
resonates with
really
me.
good. I love him.
He,
He's
he
great.
he said, people are 40% in and 40% out. Imagine if you were 90%, 95%, 100% committed to anything you did, how amazing you could be in this
Yes.
world and in this life and the things you can accomplish. And I spent so many years telling myself I was terrible, I was a failure, I'll never be anything, that once I realized that I could flip that switch and I can be
Yes.
something and I am something, I've been unstoppable. And that's what I want to tell guys. Like, find
Yes.
that switch and flip that motherfucker. And once you flip that switch, it can't be unflipped, because nobody in this world is going to do the things for you that you need to do. And once you figure out how to do them, your life is gonna be fucking changed forever. I promise. I'm living proof of
I,
it.
I
No,
wonder.
there's a massive argument to be made, guys, and I think Steve's going to say this as well. When you start to see changes in the gym, when you start to add weight to the bar, when your fat ass starts to get smaller, when you start to see cheekbones, when you are literally disciplined every single fucking day to do things, whether it's cold, wet, whether you're sad, whether you're happy, and you're doing this stuff, you suddenly realize you are in control. You are the master. You're steering your fucking ship. Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about applying the training stuff to business, but there's a massive argument. When we had the COVID situation here and in America, the number one thing that came out of the gyms being closed was how fucking important gyms were to people's mental health. How important it was to be able to go running, walking, go into the park, being out in the fresh air, going to fucking nice places to look at, down to the beach. But especially and obviously, as a focus of this show, being able to go in the gym and almost like a church, commune with your quote unquote exercise God. You're on the bike, you're on the treadmill, you're lifting weights. You aren't thinking about anything else when you're doing that stuff hard. And the
So
idea
then,
that you could take control and build from that is amazing.
so let me give you some stats before we get, and then I'll ask Noah a couple things. Here's a statistic: 70 to 80% of young incarcerated men, meaning they're in jail, report not having fathers growing up. Also, a lot of the top MMA fighters, boxers, linebackers, running backs, hockey enforcers, okay, that are violent, they play these sports violently, also grew up without fathers. So what Noah's saying makes sense. All this anger and rage builds up, and you can either end up in prison for the rest of your life, or you can use it to exercise and get into one of these sports where literally you're paid to be violent, but you're being violent with your peers. That's the key. You're being violent with your peer. A linebacker going up against a running back, you've got to be a maniac to be a linebacker or a running back. You're getting hit every fucking play, or you're hitting someone every fucking play. Hockey enforcers literally get paid to get into fights, to instigate fights. In hockey, boxers, you're literally paid to punch someone. MMA fighters, you're literally paid to beat the crap out of someone until they top out. So all these things that you can do to use that rage in a positive way instead of a negative way exist out there. Or you don't have to. If maybe you don't have the genetics to be a professional athlete, you can join a gym, join a boxing gym, join an MMA, get into karate, get into jiu-jitsu, throw heavy weights around like Mobster and Noah are doing, and that I do. These are constructive ways to do it. I talked to Noah when we had a break earlier. I work in finance, and I work with about 50 other people in finance, and we all have different ways that we manage our stress. When we have a bad day at work and we lose a lot of money, it sucks. Losing money sucks. Some people, they get a bottle of hard liquor and just liquor themselves to death. Some guys go to the strip clubs and drop $1,500 in a strip club. Some guys go bicycling or running. Some guys go to the gym. Some guys like me go fishing or go work out or go do some yoga. So everybody has their own ways. Now there's negative ways you can do it, and there's positive ways you can do it. So this is what this podcast is all about. Think about it in your life. When you go through a bad day, when you go through a depressive state, are you using that anger to your advantage and doing it? I had my worst day ever. I'll be upfront honest with you guys. I lost over $30,000 in one fucking day. It was on a really bad short that I had, and it was options expiration day. The options were expiring, and they took this stock up a lot. And I was short like 10,000 shares. I lost like 3 points on it. I lost 30 grand in one fucking day. 30 grand. That's a down payment on a house, especially where you live, Noah. It's a down payment in Wisconsin on a nice fucking house. Or anywhere in the Midwest. Shit, you can buy a house in Ohio for, for that much money.
Steve, the building I live in didn't cost much more.
It's a fucking car.
A $400,000 house here is like $1 million.
About $45,000-$50,000.
It sucks. But you know what I did that day? Instead of going and getting liquor and boozing myself to death, I went to the gym that fucking day. I went to the fucking gym. I called up a friend. I was like, look, I had a bad day. I had a friend I could talk to. And this, they understood. And I went, and then the next day, boom, I went back in there and I made some of it back. And it's just like, what's the point of turning a negative situation and snowballing it and making it worse? You've got to get that shit turned around. And there's no point. It's
Let
done.
me ask
Move
Noah.
on.
I mean, Noah, you've already said about how some of these training sessions. Let me ask you a question, Noah, because I think this is going to be helpful for listeners. How long, from what age till now, how long have you been training or keeping fit or doing whatever the fuck it is we call it we do?
So I started in high school, and I think guys have heard the story if they've heard the previous podcast, but for newer community members who haven't, I played sports my whole life since I was a little guy.
So
So
how long has
fitness,
that been? How long has that
oh
been now?
God, I'm
20 years?
37. Yeah, I'm 37 now. Started training at 15.
Yep. So
So
22 years.
yeah, so about 22 years. And I'll say like I really hit my peak. So at the height of my depression, like in my 20s, early 20s, I just was looking for an outlet. And I
Yep.
hadn't been to the gym in a while. And I was looking at my body and I was looking down and I was just disgusted at everything I was seeing. And I just made the decision to commit myself to one day go
Yep.
back to the gym. And then one day turned into 2 days, and then 3 days, and then a month later. And then I got bit by the bug, and it lit a fire inside of me that I can't even culminate into words. And I just fucking went for it, right? And 7 years later, you guys have seen the photos of me natural at my
Yeah.
peak.
Yeah. Yep.
7 years later, that was the result because I went from Topper's Pizza and fucking Culver's and fast food to just broccoli and fish and rice and lean ground beefs and eggs and oats and you name it and everything. I just switched everything and flipped that switch that we spoke about earlier with my diet. I flipped the switch with getting into my training.
Now
And then
let me ask you another question, Noah. You know
sure.
how you look now. You know how far you've come. How the fuck do you feel about the progress, where you are now, the success you've had to date? How does that make you feel?
My coach is going to hate me for this. So
He's laughing, so come on.
No, I'm laughing because I'm a big dude right now, and everybody seems to like me at this size on the forums, in person. I just get all these comments, and I'm like, I fucking hate it. Like, I just want to be ripped as fuck again. Like, I just want to be shredded. Like, that's my preferred look. But if we're talking from a progress standpoint, yes, I've come very far. I do look very good compared to the average person. Like, if I was walking down the street, you would know that I work out. So my progress has been fantastic.
There's
And
always going to be an element, Noah, of we're never quite satisfied, never
yes,
quite strong enough, never quite
correct.
ripped, right? But
Yes.
when we measure that against where we've come from, when we measure that against your fucking rage and frustration
Yes.
of earlier, when we measure that against your recent journey, when we measure it against being in shape, being cut with fucking veins, or
There's
even
no
just
comparison.
the comments of people, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
There's no comparison. This is the thing for today's show, Steve, as you introduced it. The idea for the listener that's sitting out there struggling, feeling like they've got no one around them to help. And I want them to focus just on what Noah just said and that sense of feeling that came across when I said to him, where the fuck are you now? Look, smiling, laughing, I'm too fucking big, I wish I was ripped. But at the same time, we fucking know that we've progressed. We know we're not as weak as we used to be. We know we're not as small as we used to be. We know that we're in better shape. We always have that. I could be better. I could be stronger. I could be ripped. That's part of what drives us. If we didn't, we wouldn't target it.
Well, I'm also laughing too because
I'd like to see what your coach is going to say.
He's going to be like, stick to the plan. That's what he always says. But no, but he does it for good reason. He does it for good reason. He knows what he's doing. He's the coach for a reason. It's my job to execute. So, but from my
Steve,
personal,
I'll ask you, Steve, because you've actually said about when you fasted and how you can feel good and fasting.
Yeah.
I know for a fucking fact when you've done the yoga, there's going to be a sense of achievement. So even if you haven't had the quote unquote depression, and you have had the element here and there.
No, I think I've had depression. Trust me, I've had it.
So what about yourself? How good it makes you feel? Let's bring you in and say, well, how about you feel when you exercise? What you feel when you're in shape? you feel when you've done a 16, 20,
Well,
40, how many day fast?
so I'm in a unique situation. Okay. I've worked in finance since I was 15. Okay. I literally, by the time I was 19 years old, this is while I was in college, I got promoted to a very, very high level. Okay. Because I was so good at my job, right? I'm so good with numbers. I'm like a math nerd. I can calculate numbers instantly. When I was like in elementary school, I was like 5 years old. They were freaked out when they saw my math scores. I was like 99.9%, 99.9 percentile, right? Compared to the other kids. So, statistics is my life. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is that whether you have a good day or a bad day financially, okay, at the end of the day is going to be over one way or the other. So you can either, be depressed about it and booze yourself to sleep, like some people do that I know, or you can still go work out and stick to the plan. Mobster, what you said, I'm kind of surprised. What you were saying earlier, you said that you still, even through your depression, you still worked out. A lot of people don't do that. So Mobster had something that was a common denominator, which is working out. And no matter what, whether you had a good day, depressed, happy, whatever, you still worked out. It doesn't matter. Like on my birthday, for example, I have people that say, "Oh, what are you doing for your birthday? You're going out. You're gonna go to the bar. You're gonna go to the club." I was like, "No, I'm gonna go do yoga. I'm gonna go to the gym. Nothing changes just because it's my fucking birthday. No matter the
That's what
world
I
doesn't
mean, Steve.
care that it's my birthday."
That's what I'm getting at. I had 9 months when I literally walked out the house that I owned in Gloucester. Passport, fuck it, I'm going to France. I don't give a shit. I'm leaving the country. Head up my ass, etc. Landed on my brother David's doorstep. David obviously had issues of his own, but he still took me in. And within a week, I think I found a gym at the bottom of the hill where he lived, and started training there. It was such a fucking ingrained habit for me that I couldn't imagine not doing it. And I think arguably a saving grace for myself and for Noah. When my daughter came and I use the words rescued me because it was okay at my brother Dave's, but she wanted to be with her dad. She wanted to look after me, which was fucking amazing. There was a sports centre nearby, and the manageress of the sports centre could see that I worked out. Didn't have to do the induction, which was great. And I was just that person and went in there, and they both places found out that I'd done the grip stuff. I was in a magazine in the gym that I'd been to. The sports centre, one of the PTs introduced me as he could kill you with one hand just by strangling you, which is a bit weird to one of his clients. But that was my thing. It was kind of an anchor. Everything else around me might have been fucking wanting to sail away, wanting to leave the country. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to talk to no fucker. But my anchor was going to the gym. Now, it doesn't have to be the gym. It could be running. It could be fitness. It could be, I don't know, fucking tending your flowers in your garden. But there was an anchor for me that kept me from fucking losing the plot, kept me from doing stupid shit. Certainly, I had never had the idea of self-harm, but I was quite happy to not talk to no fucker, leave the country. I had my passport in my bag, a few quid, my credit cards. I was ready to rock and roll. I didn't give a shit. Yeah. And that was at the worst. So for me, definitely the training was an anchor. Absolutely, this is the thing. And the benefit of today's show is, again, right? This is, again, for someone that's struggling and wants to listen, and we talk about how fitness goals, training goals can help you. When there's everything else around you feels like it's chaos, when you are having a black funk, a black sheep, I think one politician or actor described it was like a black sheep. I'm going to having a black sheep day. I'm sorry, I can't talk to you today. When everything around you was fucked up, you wasn't doing a negative thing. You wasn't using drugs. You wasn't using alcohol. You wasn't cutting yourself, self-harming. You wasn't thinking of different ways of committing suicide. You were still doing this one positive thing. For us, for the benefit of this show, that one positive thing was working out. And how later on, if you are struggling, the idea of then introducing working out is literally baby steps. Noah and I have made, and Steve, we've made monumental progress from where we came from. But literally just going to the gym, getting a good coach, good PT, someone at the gym you can talk to, explaining perhaps if you're comfortable, listen, I'm struggling right now. I think if I come to the gym, it'll help. And you'll probably find someone there go, do you know what? Come on in, buddy. Have a session on me. Let's get this shit done. Let's find you a good PT. Can you afford a PT? Right. Let's get you a good coach who knows how to deal with maybe some of the problems you've had and just gives you some real easy, gentle shit to do. Before you fucking know it, you end up like being hardcore motherfuckers, taking BDs, getting real serious about your shit like we're doing. So listen,
Yeah.
baby steps. There are literally places where you can go. There's a walking group near me, Steve. It's called Men Talk Walk. And all they do is they go for a 5 mile walk on a Sunday, different
Oh,
places,
that's
up
great.
mountains. Yeah. And all it's just guys and they go, listen, we're doing this show. Noah's doing this show. Steve's doing this show. We're all talking about our own personal experiences of depression. That's what this Men Talk Walk group
Yeah.
does. It's guys of all different ages just saying they've had a real shit day, a shit hour, a shit month, a shit life, whatever, and being amongst other like-minded people. And it's not about making it worse. It's about getting it off your chest, being out in the fresh air, getting those steps in. So the fitness lifestyle absolutely can help.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, and I will touch upon this, talking to Noah briefly. Do you think, because I want to talk a little bit about TRT and Beligas in a moment, please, Noah, do you think perhaps even PEDs and specifically being on testosterone helps you a little bit in not just in your overall journey, but sometimes with your mental health as well?
Yeah, I would say just from the confidence aspect and just from the feeling more like a man aspect, it does give you a certain drive and a certain level of adaptation, I want to say, because
Yeah.
you're more willing to take on harder challenges. You're more willing to take
Yes.
a risk with certain things,
Yes.
like
Yes.
with me changing my career to make more money and take better care of myself. And
Yes.
just that alone helped with the depression. And then you couple the gym on top of that with the TRT. It definitely has its advantages. Now, it's not a silver bullet. I don't want
No.
guys to think
No.
that you're going to be Superman, but it definitely helps a little, and anything that helps a little eventually will help a lot because it's baby steps, as Mobster said. Eventually, you're taking one giant leap, and then that's how you get to the other side of the
Something
depression
Steve
and what you're
Smith
feeling.
and I have touched upon, Noah, is we forget sometimes, and I think we've actually touched on this with addiction shows. We are, as human beings, men and women, but we're talking about men talking on the show today, women included, of course. We are unbelievably hormonal animals. We don't think we are. We think we're fucking all brains and bollocks. We don't think we're hormonal, but we are.
Yep.
And for a lot of men, testosterone is arguably, especially in TRT, I would argue here, Steve, a feel good hormone.
Yeah. So
You
let me
feel more capable of doing certain things and more
gotcha.
up to the job, so
Yeah.
to
So
speak.
with that, let me touch on with Noah. So Noah, with your depression, where were your test levels before? When did you go on TRT? First
Yeah,
of
we could.
all, how
Yes.
long ago?
Yes.
Oh God, I think I went on TRT when I was 33.
Okay. So before that,
Um,
where were your levels at?
so my levels before COVID were 700, which really good. Like,
That's really good. Yeah.
yeah, I naturally I was doing really well. After like during COVID, I had gotten COVID 3 times. So that was fun. But anyway, I just started feeling really lethargic, really crappy, really bad. And then I went in and got my levels retested, and I think I was at like 3 or 400.
Wow. Okay. So
Well, because
that,
think about it, I went from a healthy lifestyle and working out every day to not
Yep.
eating healthy anymore, to not
yeah.
working
Yep.
out, and the
So that
Yep.
plunged your
lockdowns, everything was
tests.
closed.
Okay.
Yes.
So you went on TRT. Do you think that going on the TRT from low testosterone levels honestly helped with the depression issues, or did it not make a
Yes.
difference? It
It
did. Okay.
it helped in the fact that I mean, obviously it takes a long time to work, so it was negligible right away. But as the testosterone was working its way through my system, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks and beyond, then I
Yep.
started to realize my drive was back, my
Okay.
determination was back. I was viewing things from a different angle with a different
Okay.
lens.
Yes.
Like,
So
Yes.
people out there, would you recommend get blood work done, see your testosterone levels? If your testosterone levels are low and you decide, hey, to go on TRT, Belagas, testosterone, really, really good idea. You recommend it?
yeah, to be honest with you, just to touch on the Belagas part first and then answer the other stuff later, I've been using Belagas Test Sip 250 almost every cycle, and even with TRT, and
Yeah.
my levels come back excellent. It's an amazing product. It works. It's the right concentration. You're getting what's in the vial that's on the printed
Yes.
label. And as far as like recommending it, if you absolutely need it and it is dire for you to be on it, like if you, and I'm talking like I don't want to preach or anything. I don't want to sound preachy, but if you eat like shit, you don't sleep, you drink,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
not living a healthy lifestyle. Your test levels are going to plummet. I'm living proof during COVID
Yeah.
with the lockdowns. I ate like crap,
Yeah.
didn't
So
sleep,
you've got to
test levels
change that
plummeted.
first and
Yes.
then
Yes.
go to the TRT
And the blood work before,
and
but
the
then
blood
yes,
work.
I
Okay.
always
Yes.
recommend blood work no matter
So
what.
what other steroids have you used that you think, you know what, this isn't good for people with depression, that people out there with depression listening to this or have family with
Yeah,
depression or friends should stay
definitely
away from?
do not run any 19 North. If you
So
have
no
depression,
DECA, no Tren,
no
no
DECA, no
MPP.
NPP, no trend. And I
So
know guys are gonna be like, "Oh, no trend." No, listen,
so did you try
stick
using
to
any of
mild.
those yourself?
I've run NPP a little bit,
And
but
it messed you up a little bit, you'd say?
it did. It
What did it
did.
do to mess you up? Be specific.
My depression came on real heavy.
Really?
Like
Okay.
my mindset flipped like within a
Okay.
matter of weeks
So
from
stay
running
away
it.
from the
I'm
19
just
North.
thinking, Steve, that you said about Superdrol. We've discussed Halo and Trend to a lesser degree, and I said anything. If I was having a fucking bad day or bad week or bad month, the idea of adding me feeling toxic into that mix,
Yeah.
as
Well,
Noah's
let's
just
ask
talked
Noah
about,
that.
yeah,
Noah, have you
yeah.
used any of those other harsh non-19 Nors, like the Super Drolls, the Halos, some of these other harsh, maybe the Anadrols even? Have you used any of those?
No, I
Okay.
I haven't gone down that road yet
Okay. What's
because
the
my
strongest what you've run?
well,
Strongest thing
I've
you've run,
run
you think?
well, I would say probably like Winstrol for as far as like an oral
Okay.
perspective. Winstrol is probably the harshest thing I've run
And did it
from
mess with
like
you, you would say, or no?
not really. I
Okay.
honestly the NPP was the only one that messed with me a little bit. Everything else, my mind and my body's been pretty good with assimilating. Like I've been very comfortable. Like I've been comfortable with Primo. I've been comfortable with Masteron, Anavar, um, Winstrol. I would say the only other one thinking about that, you actually jogged my memory. When I added Tyranobol one time with my Primo and my testosterone, kind of made me a fucking asshole. like,
T-ball,
like
really? Okay.
yeah, like I don't
Yeah.
know if like
Maybe
if
just a
I was
mix.
I
Yeah.
think if I was overloading on DHTs, I'm
Yeah.
not really sure if that was the case, but it just made my anger not good. So I ditched
Okay.
it right away
So
because
so so now that we touched on ones to avoid, why don't you give us a couple good Balaga cycles that you'd recommend people out there who are trying to get themselves out of depression and who are like, let's say they're 6 months, a year out of depression and they don't want it to come back and they've really dedicated themselves with diet and nutrition and everything. What are a couple good Balaga cycles that you'd recommend? You touched on a couple of them already. How would you run them specifically?
you know what I will say, and I feel like it's severely underrated and not a lot of guys utilize it because I don't really see a lot of people do it. Testosterone with Proviron, oh my God. Like that, when I took that Proviron, I just felt happy. I felt good. Like I don't know
Hmm.
what it is about adding testosterone with Proviron, but even a small amount, like 25 milligrams of Proviron with a
Yes.
TRT dose, like of 100, 150 milligrams, like, oh my God. Like I don't even, I just was like, out of nowhere, I was like, why do I feel so good? Why do I feel happy? I'm like, and I didn't like question it in like a cynical way, like, oh, why am I happy? I'm usually
No, no,
depressed
no, no,
and,
no, no.
but like, I don't
Why
know.
is this
There's just
working?
something about
Proviron,
that
yeah.
combination
It's a
of
great
testosterone
one.
and proviron. It
Yeah,
is phenomenal,
and Proviron, I wouldn't even categorize that anabolic steroid. It is, but I can consider it more of a drug. It's a straight
right?
DHT oral, and
Yeah.
it's great in any cycle. So it sounds like that's a great tip right there for all you out there who may be going through depression. Yeah.
What Noah just said, Steve. I actually mentioned this. I don't post this a lot on my log for one reason or another. I've just being lazy, but I actually my daily supplement list, including PEDs. I'm on TRT. I missed the jab yesterday. I need to do it well after this show. And I daily take 25 milligrams of Proviron the whole time to boost the effects of testosterone to get more out of my cycle, as we've discussed on other shows. And I think that argument of, and I've used it like a sort of fuel injection analogy that you're adding something to the fuel in
Yeah.
the car to get more speed and power out of the car
So
without having to change the whole fucking car.
That's good. Yeah. And then with Mobster, how much Proviron are you using?
I go 25 milligrams a day, and I
Okay.
run 200 milligrams of testosterone
And
CPNA for my
and,
TRT
and
routine.
Noah, what was the most Proviron you've run, and how much do you like to run?
I do about 20, 25 milligrams, just kind of on par with what Mobster was talking about. And then like my testosterone would be anywhere between 150 to 200 milligrams, but I
Okay.
don't really go over that.
So that might be a good,
200's on the high end.
I think that's a good first cycle for someone coming out of depression. Don't you agree?
I
Yeah.
think so, yeah. And
Yeah.
like Noah said, it's not a silver bullet, but I do agree with what Noah said as well. Make sure you get your blood test done, like Noah said. Make sure that those other elements in control, and then by all means, and this is a very low dose, relatively safe steroid. Proviron's relatively safe as well for that reason, and it just gives you a starting point. And to go off and then perhaps get blood tests, like Noah said. I mean, the numbers that he was
Yeah.
throwing out before was the high
If you could
upper
see it.
high and the up a lower a lower bottom. Yeah,
Just got done doing my blood work.
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So,
so tell us some other cycles that have worked for you in the past that didn't bring on depression, made you feel good and everything.
so actually my current one that just kind of ended before I went into my health phase, like this is a little bit more of a intermediate to moderate experience cycle, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I believe just because there's a few compounds in there, it's not just one or two. But man, running testosterone with Masteron for 12
Yes.
weeks and then doing a little bit of Winnie and Anavar for 6 weeks total, man, that combination was killer because all the growth that you guys have seen me get
Yes.
was from that cycle. And it wasn't crazy amounts. Like I just did 20 milligrams of Winstrol 7 days a week, and I did between 20 and 40 milligrams of VAR 7 days a week. And then it was 150 milligrams of Mast, and then 300 milligrams to 500 milligrams of the test sip. But man, honestly, I'm a huge believer, and I was a big Primo guy, but after running tests with Mast, I've completely switched teams. Like Mast,
Yeah.
for some reason, Mast makes me strong, and it also helps me grow. Like that combo, like of test and Mast, even for a new guy, just drop the orals. For somebody newer, a combination of test and Mast, depending on body fat. I mean, I shouldn't have ran it, but I mean, it is what it is. I feel like guys should experiment, but at the
You,
very least, even Test and Primo are mild but great cycles. I had great success with those. I ran those.
what was the primo at?
So the first time I ran Primo, it was 400 milligrams, I think, 3 or 400. And I think that's where I stuck for the most part. It was about 300 to 250 tests and 3 to 400 Primo for 12 weeks.
So
So nothing major.
none of those cycles increase your depression. You'd say it helped your depression, or was it more
Yeah.
in
It
between?
well, it helped me be more productive and it
Okay.
actually helped my drive. Like
Yes.
so it could be placebo, but the way I looked at it is if I'm injecting this shit into my body, right? I don't have time to fuck around and be depressed. Like I got 12 weeks to make shit shake. Like I
Yes.
gotta work.
Give you a
Like if I'm
target, a focus.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's like
why would I jab?
it's like the steroids are like pointing at you and saying, "Hey, you're taking us. You might as well get your ass in
Yes.
the
Yes.
gym and take
Yes.
advantage of it.
Why
Don't
the
Yeah,
hell
let
waste
would
me
I
let me
us."
stick
let me
myself?
jump in there, guys. I've literally had people. We've actually discussed this on multiple shows and on forums. The only time some people are serious about their diet, and the only time some people are serious about their training is when they're on a cycle. And we've actually said, no, 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 no. Be serious about your shit all the
Yes.
time.
Make sure
Then
you're serious
introduce,
Yeah.
first,
yes,
then use the
yes, then
steroids as
introduce
icing.
it.
The
But
last thing you need is to
Yes.
go on steroids when you're
yes,
depressed, and then you come off and you get more depressed
or
after you
your
come off.
diet's
Yeah.
poor, or you're
Noah, touch
being
on that a bit
lackadaisical with your training. Yeah,
Which
before we
part?
you
let
will
you
get so
go.
much more. You'll get so much
Yeah.
more from it if you
So
do it right.
yeah, Noah, touch on that aspect of coming off and the risk of having depression when you come off, and before we let you go.
So it depends on how you do it, really. I mean, some guys are going to PCT, and that could be complex, and that's something that you really need to do your research and study because, guys, Novadex isn't a PCT, and I see a lot
No,
of people try and
no.
do that with Novadex or Clomid, and it's like there's much more to that. There's a lot of different things involved, but if you're on TRT, the fall will be a lot more pillowy. Like you'll
Yeah,
have something to catch you with because you're still injecting something exogenous into your body. So while you'll notice the strength decrease and you'll notice your drive might dip, it won't be as bad because you have that
No.
buffer and cushion.
Yeah.
But if you straight just come off cold turkey, please get a proper PCT. And I think there's a sticky somewhere on Evo explaining a proper PCT that's updated.
Perfect PCT sticky. Yeah.
Yes, there you go. Yep, because I would suggest reading that and finding out as much information on a PCT and just in general, if you're going to go down this route and this lifestyle and this is something you want to do,
Yeah.
whether it's TRT for life, because that is a lifelong commitment. Once you jab, you're jabbing for life. I'm not going to come off. I started, and that's my decision and the bet I'm going to lay in. But as far as doing this lifestyle, if you are going to PCT and try and bring your natural levels up, just educate yourself. Come on Evo, talk to the guys, talk to the moderators, talk to the people who are running logs who have been doing this for a little bit, and just be part of the community and get educated. We'll gladly help you out. I will help anybody and everyone as long as you are safe and succeeding. That's all we care about.
Yeah, and
Let me
definitely, I just
sorry,
want to
Steve.
say
Let me just
on just
go on.
that now, before you guys out there listening to this, if you've never used steroids before, as Noah said, please come on the forum, get a log going,
Yes.
ask questions, listen to the podcast, read the articles, educate yourself on this stuff before you start. But there is hope down the line. So Noah, before we let you go, talk about hope for all those sitting right now who are in a depressive state. And then Mobster, I promise I'll let
Yeah,
you finish out the
I'm just
podcast.
gonna give you that the
Yeah.
literal Mayo Clinic telling you why exercise will benefit you. But you, Noah, please.
So hope is a tricky one because my perspective's a little different, right? I used to live off of hope. And all hope got me was nowhere. It comes a point, and I don't say this in a mean way or to be a bastard or rude to people or rude to you, Steve. I just realized in my mind when I keep hoping instead of just doing, all I have is
Yes.
hope and nothing to show for it. There comes a point, guys, where you just have to say enough is enough, motherfucker. It's go time. It's time to kick myself in the ass and get this shit done. Because once you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired,
Yeah.
that's when the growth happens. That's when you start winning. Like you have to hit that fucking rock bottom place to where you're like, okay, I can't get any lower than this. Now it's time to fucking crawl my way out by any means necessary. So hope is okay for some, but for me, it comes down to the action and just being tired of being tired. Like
Yeah.
you can only be depressed for so long. Like everybody has an expiration date, right? What is the shit that you're going to do in between that expiration date that will define your
Yes.
legacy and define you? Is what what do you want to be remembered for? Do you want to be remembered for a quitter and somebody who just stays that way and becomes a shell of themselves? Or do you want to be a winner and do you want to feel what it feels like to be happy and to just inspire yourself and others around you? Think
Some
about
of
that.
some of your legacy, Noah, is going to be inspiring. Some of your legacy is going to be your message to other people. We and all us three, I hope, in some way, don't even always understand or appreciate the positive impact that we might be having on other people just by our
Yes.
example. Not even talking to you. I've literally said this on the show. Karen that works behind the counter, there's a woman out there, she's like a model, and they called me over one day and I was doing some shit in the corner, but I'd just been squatting some crazy fucking weight. And she says, you do know you're inspiring people. People watch what you're doing. And I said, when I'm doing it, Karen, I couldn't tell you what day of the week it was. I can't hear the music. There's a mirror in front of me. I don't see myself in the mirror. And I
Yep.
said, trust me, I'm doing this for myself. But if by this show, if by what we've talked about today, if by discussing what we talked about today and on the forums and in what we do, and by physically changing our own lives, we are inspiring and motivating other people. That's our fucking legacy, Noah. Right
Yep.
fucking there, man.
Yes.
Right
And
there when it
that's
comes to
what
this thing.
I love is the fact that you guys continue to give me a platform to share my story and my
Yep.
perspective. And I get to help people. Like when I get tagged by somebody on the forums and they're like, hey,
Yes.
listen to this podcast, or Noah said this, or hey, Noah went through
Yes.
exactly what you're going
You
like
know, you're
that
Yes.
is
helping.
part
Yeah.
of my legacy, like you said, Mobster. And that is something that I
Yes.
love is that I genuinely get a high off of helping other people because I get to
Beautiful.
see where they were and where they're going to go. And when they fall, I could kick them in the ass and be like, no, nope, I'm right here. Like
No,
the
you're not
form
allowed to
Evo is
fall.
here.
We're going to pick you up.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're gonna catch you. Yep. Dust yourself off. Get back on the fucking wagon. Snap those reins and push it forward.
Yep. And we
Yes.
have a few guys like Noah. You want to come on the forum, reach out to Noah, talk to him in his log. We have a few
Absolutely.
guys like this on the forum. Van Life, Be Me. These are guys who have been through a lot of shit in their life.
Yes.
Even Harley guy. And these guys are waiting for you guys to reach out to them because they want to help you. Mobster and I also want to help you as always. So come out and reach out to
Harley
us on
guy
the show.
right now, Steve, is at a camp today as we do this show. Is at a camp where literally the whole purpose of that camp is going to be helping people that have had operator syndrome. So he's putting fucking back in. Noah, thank you so much for what you said today. Thank you so much for being open.
We'll have Noah back on another podcast as well on addiction. So watch out for that one as well. I believe it's the one right after this one, which is going to be episode 220. So
we're going to talk about Beligas in a moment, but I just want to read this last paragraph out, Steve. And this quotes a bunch of stuff from different places, including the Mayo Clinic. And this is just the overview. It says, and I quote, exercise combats anxiety and depression by releasing feel-good chemicals, reducing stress hormones, and improving self-esteem. It acts as a distraction from worries, promotes better sleep, and can provide a sense of accomplishment and social connection. For many, and including anxiety, exercise can help you learn to manage the physical symptoms, while for depression, it can decrease symptoms and improve overall mood. So it's not just us talking about gym and killing it and big weights and having a six-pack and taking steroids. This is literally the science of every single thing. So yeah, look, let's talk about a little bit about Beligas, Steve. I'll let you start.
Yeah, one of the things about Beligas that we really like is that if you order something from them, you know you're getting what you order. So we talked about Proviron earlier. If you order Proviron, you know you're getting Proviron. If you take 10 milligrams, you know you're taking 10 milligrams. If you take 20, you know you're taking 20. If you're taking 50, you know you're taking 50. That's what you need in a steroid source. Back when I started using steroids, okay, it was how long ago, Mobster? It's got to be 15 to 20 years ago, okay, when I started using steroids. Between 15 and 20 years ago, closer to 15. Back then, if you order steroids, you didn't know what you're getting. You didn't know if you were even going to get it. You didn't know if they were going to send you fakes. They could print out a label and stick it on a vial.
Take your money,
oil.
Steve.
Yeah.
Take your money, contaminated product. What the fuck?
Beligas, they are legit. Their products are tested 98, 99.5% legit.
Yep.
Amazing product. And, you know, we love that we can trust them. You don't even have to worry about when you're using them. As Noah said, he was using TRT Beligas. He knows when he's using Beligas for his TRT that he's getting the same stuff, the same dosage, the same quality as he would if he was to get a prescription and walk into a pharmacy and get testosterone off the shelf. That's what you need from a source. That is a number one thing you need from a source. Number two, it's affordable. Number three, they have great customer service. Number four, they have amazing shipping. So
Steve,
what else
I've said on these shows, Beligas is literally, and I don't mean this it's a great lab. I mean literally a pharmaceutical company based out of Belgium, which means what I said on other shows. This literally government inspectors, federal inspectors can walk in and check the shipping. They can check the packaging. They can check the labeling. They can take samples of product from the line, take it to a federal or government lab, a local council lab, a regional lab, on behalf of those associations and check the products. It literally is a pharmaceutical company. You can find pictures of the building. You can look up the fucking address. This isn't some sort of Thai lab or Australian lab or Mexican lab. This is a actual pharmaceutical company. So they're producing pharmaceutical product. People say, oh, I want pharmaceutical product. Beligas is a pharmaceutical product produced by a pharmaceutical company. So what does that mean sometimes? When you go to the pharmacy, when you go to the chemist, as we say here, and you look at the pharmacy counter and you go and get your script filled or prescription, as we say over here, what you see in the cabinet behind you is pharmaceutical product. It looks a certain way, and you trust the product because it looks a certain way, and you know that it's been checked. You know it has to achieve a certain level and a certain standard. Beligas has got you covered in that way. Something else just to finish, Steve, and I said this about Beligas before. When you and I first started talking about Beligas, we had to do a little bit of usual pre-show research, and one of the things that stood out for me is they had cycle products, blends of what people do. So you can buy straight testosterone stipulate, like Noah mentioned. You can buy Anavar or Winstrol, and if you want to take those products individually, great. If you want to put them together, great. But what they've done a lot of the time is they've done the work for you. They will say, oh, when guys are using 2 kinds of testosterone, what kind do they use? How much do they dose that together? And then if you look, Steve, those products are available in that format, in that milligram amount. What's super common for people to use, they've gone and produced for you. And again, pharmaceutical quality, because it is an actual pharmaceutical company. Listen, we're super grateful for Noah coming on. We really want this show to be super beneficial. Some of our most popular and impactful shows have been the ones talking about addiction. We're doing more. We've got more interviews coming up. But today's show, I would love to think, Steve, Noah, that we've had some small, if positive effect. Hopefully, just a few people out there. If we've helped them, then this show will be worth doing, worth putting out there, worth the time and effort us guys have put together, and being open and letting you know a little bit about our journey. So that would be fucking amazing. Let us know in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. Please come onto the forums like Steve and Noah said. Check out. We're there. We'll give you advice. We've got a great team of people. The community is growing stronger every single fucking day. It's super, super important to us. And we want you to be successful. We want to help people. Please note, as always, we are not doctors and your opinions are ours. It is our view based on our experience and views on the topic. Our podcasts are for informational purposes and entertainment only. The freedom of speech and the First Amendment applies.